Thank you for joining us for this Blue Strong story. I'm Tom Mapes, delighted to be here with Bill and Ann Luther because it's a marvelous story and it goes back several years ago and it's such a support for law enforcement. And Miss Ann and Bill, thanks for joining us today, and we're so excited that we finally get together while we're all still able to get together and get the real story. So take us back. I remember it was back in 2015 when I went to the first Blue Strong down at the Civic Center. We had a great prayer event there at that time. That's where it all began as far as the public is concerned, but it has to back up a little bit to find out where did it begin. Can you share that with us?
Yes, sir. It was during the midst of a lot of turmoil in New York City. I don't remember what had just taken place, but they were chanting on television about what kind of cops do we like. We like dead cops. Well, of course, I was getting to the boiling point. Sure. I thought that was very disrespectful for people that are laying their lives on the line for us. So I told my husband, we need to do something. Somebody needs to do something. So Bill says, okay, why don't you do it? Here's the phone. So
what happened, I had seen on Facebook, Jeff Davis from Vac had posted something about Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, Lead Day, which was coming up toward the first or second week of January.
Yeah.
This was the first week of January.
Yeah.
And I said, here, look at this. So she looked at what Jeff had posted on Facebook, and then that's when she got a sense of direction of where she was going to go.
Yeah.
It's your turn.
And I called the mayor and told him about the program. And I said, check it out on Facebook or on the media. And he did. And he called me back and he says, all right, why don't you come in tomorrow? And when I walked through the door that morning, Libby Murphy was there, and Tammy was there.
Tammy Buchanan.
Yeah.
Tammy Buchanan Anderson was there.
And Mayor Jerry Gist.
Yes. And so we sat down and we began to talk. And before we left there that day, we had some plans worked out.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was feed these men. That's a good old Southern custom. You always feed people.
Especially law enforcement folks. We love these.
Yes. So we did that.
Yeah.
And then we had that first service. We had a prayer circle, a blue circle.
Mm-hmm.
It was very impressive.
It was.
Big flag across the.
One of the most impressive parts of that was for the people out in the audience. There was a special time. The law enforcement detail was behind the curtain, behind the big flag, or behind the curtain, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then they raised the curtain, and that whole stage was full of law enforcement personnel in front of the big American flag. And I mean, when I think about it now, since chill bumps, it was just very impacting.
Yeah. It was a special time because it really hurt all of us in law enforcement to have that happen, where everything was turning against law enforcement, and all of a sudden the younger generation had no interest in becoming a deputy or police officer or anything like that because of all the bad publicity that was going on at that time. And even from the top of the administration at that time, it was all going against law enforcement. Right. So all of a sudden you get inspired because of what's going on, the negative publicity, and Bill says, do something yourself. So you grabbed the ball and ran with it, went to the mayor. Mayor Gist was very receptive to your idea, supported you with Tammy and Libby, and said, go with it, huh? Right. So that had to take a lot of quick work, though, because you're talking about probably December into January, I think the 9th of January.
We had a week and a half.
Yeah.
Week and a half to pull that together.
Tuesday of 1 week, and the program was the Friday of the following week.
How in the world did you do it so quickly?
We did a lot of hard work, a lot of meetings, just making phone calls. And what was so surprising, it was so easy to do because the community was ready to do something like this.
Libby mobilized a lot of businesses in town.
So many people.
So Libby was a go-getter and a doer. If you want something done, go to Libby Murphy. She could do it.
She would do it.
She was so instrumental in the early days, she and Tammy, of getting it going, getting it started. So, okay, you had to have a lot of support from the business community, especially the food industry locally, didn't you?
They responded just unbelievably. We had
760 something people. I think they fed that day.
Isn't that something?
3 meals.
And then it just kept like a snowball rolling downhill, just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, Libby got involved in all the production, and she started bringing in special people to speak. And the program got larger and larger in 16 and 17 and 18. It just kept growing, didn't it?
And we brought in the I never get it right, the drum and fife or drum and bugle corps or what it was.
That's close enough.
Sheriff's Department in Memphis that set up very. Let's go back to the first one since we're talking about it.
Sure.
Because to me, the first one was the best one.
Yeah.
Of all of mine. We had a great production. They were all good, but there was something special about that first one because it was geared towards support and prayer.
Yeah.
And Libby had lined up 4 pastors in this community to pray.
Right.
Ann had mentioned about the blue circle. At a point in time, we had those officers march down off the stage into that blue circle.
Yeah.
And they were surrounded by the community during prayer time.
Right.
And Mayor Harris led us in prayer over those folks. And there was a very strong spiritual touch and tone to that.
Right.
And so then, of course, like you say, the next year it expanded. We brought in Jared and Becky Davis to do some special songs for us. And I forgot now who, I guess the TBI gentleman was that spoke. And then it was, I guess, the next year that we had Ms. Vila got killed.
Yeah,
and
Rosemary
then
Vila.
the TBI guy got sick.
That was
And so we
special.
had a memorial included for her.
Yeah.
We also had a county fireman got killed, and there was a special tribute to him in one of the
TBI agents.
Yeah, TBI agent got killed too next year. Yeah. That's right.
What was so amazing was that at every one of those events that we had at the Civic Center, we had both mayors, city and county was always there. There was city council.
State senator, city.
Yeah,
County
just
commissioner,
it was
state
so
reps.
supported by all of the political community
That's right.
and governmental officers.
Religious
It was
community.
amazing.
Yeah.
It really was.
Well, it was certainly needed at the time. I mean, it was very, very vital. And then it just kept growing as the years went by and the program got bigger. You had folks who were rappelling from the ceiling.
Yes.
And stuff like that. You had canine dogs on the stage. And it was...
One of the things, and I've forgotten now whose idea it was. I know we mentioned Libby a lot, God rest her soul, was to do blue lights throughout the community.
Yes.
That was very
And
important.
Pastor Gale from St. Luke's sort of helped spearhead that, and we had businesses, had churches, and we drive through communities now, and they still have those blue lights on.
I burned mine
24/7. We thought, thank the Lord. And I'm sure that if I was in a police car driving through the town at 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the morning to see a blue light, there's somebody that cares.
I think there was a time when all the hardware stores ran out of blue lights.
Right.
I tried to get some one time. It was just sold out.
Right.
So that's really impressive, especially in downtown Jackson, to see it all
Oh,
blue
it was
like that. It
beautiful.
was special. That was
City Hall and the courthouse, and
Yeah.
I know again Pastor Gale over here at St. Luke's had a very beautiful display of blue lights all throughout her building.
As you look back on it, Miss Ann, and you think about your life and your legacy, what do you want people to remember you for when it comes to Blue Strong like this?
Oh my goodness. I would want them to remember that I did it out of a heart of love. There was no other motivation, nothing involved in it. I tried to keep it as unpolitical as I could. I wanted it to be, I wanted them to realize that the heart of the community was with them. And I want to read this little thing right here. It says, until you put your life up as collateral for another life, you don't know what life saving is about.
That's right.
That's what our officers do every day.
Yeah.
And they're called on. I know I stopped at a wreck one day, and there was a police officer and 2 first responders kneeling in front of 2 little children, trying to comfort them because they had been in a terrible wreck. Their parents had been taken away to the hospital, and these officers were taking care of them.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing I wanted Blue Strong to do was to awaken the conscience of this community. And now then, every time I hear of a Blue Strong event, I go, great, it's great. I'm glad they're doing that, because one of your sheriff's deputies made the statement to the sheriff. The case said he came to him crying one day and said, you know, we just never knew the community felt this way about us. They had never said anything, had never done any big events like this. I'm sure there were things along that they did on the department level, but it encourages them
Sure it does.
to fight the good fight
Absolutely.
that they're having to do.
Yeah. Bill, can I ask you the same question I just asked Miss Ann? When you're going on, what do you want your legacy to be regarding Blue Strong?
I think Ann verbalized it quite well. Again, it wasn't anything personal that we wanted. It was the fact that we wanted the people under the blue lights, Blue Strong, to know that the community, political community, the community as a whole, the religious community in the city of Jackson, we were behind them. We can't help what they're doing in New York City or San Francisco or those places, but this is Jackson. And Jackson is the heart of West Tennessee, the hub of West Tennessee, and we wanted the law enforcement personnel in Jackson and even surrounding areas that have come into some of the Blue Strong events to let them know that we stand strong behind them, we pray for them, we support them, and we thank them for the things that they're doing to keep us safe.
You know, you look at it 5 years later in 2019 coming up, and you see hardly a week goes by where there's not some major event on television about someone in blue being killed or seriously injured on the job, defending or trying to rescue or just doing their job.
Right.
It
Or
just,
sitting in a police car and being assassinated
my goodness.
because they're in a police car.
Yeah. Just because they had on the badge and the blue.
Right.
You know, you wonder, where are we going? I mean, it makes you wonder what's happened. To roll the clock back to when we were growing up 40, 50, 60 years ago, it was a different America.
Oh, very
You're right.
different.
You're right.
Totally.
Don't you think when the kids were growing up back then, they wanted to be police officers, they wanted to be
They
in law
looked up
enforcement?
to-
Yeah, they did. Firemen, yeah. What has happened?
You've seen the things and been even read at some of the Blue Strong events, you know, when they put on their clothes and they leave the house. There's not a guarantee they're coming back. You know, used to you think if an officer was just doing a traffic stop,
Yeah.
they're safe. But, you know, I watched a deal on Facebook one day this week where the guy got out of his car on a traffic stop and started shooting the police officer. Thank the Lord, the police officer survived.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different world.
Do you think all this maybe began with 9/11, with the Twin Towers going down and 3,000 people dying, and such stories about heroism and law enforcement and the fire, all the rescuers, first responders? Do you think that's kind of where the emphasis began, on appreciating the first responders and the people in blue?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But, you know, it's like everything, you know, things sort of wane. You know, they drift off. We haven't had a 9/11 in a while. You know, I was in D.C. in 9/11, so I know all about that part of it. But it's horrendous that, you know, you have to have a tragedy to awaken the public sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, there was a rally in this area when Officer Vega got killed. There was a emotional appeal when the TBI officer got killed over here. There was a you know, but then there's just sort of a leakage of emotion there, I guess it is, after a while. And that's one reason, you know, we want Blue Strong to continue in some phase, some fashion.
Right.
You know, we may not do a major production, you know, at the Civic Center, but to hear that the meals are going to be provided,
That's right.
and things are still going to be going on, to let the community know, and then let the police know and the law enforcement personnel know that, hey, we're still here and we're still for you.
Before we wrap it up, let's go back and see if we can glean any more treasures out of the beginning days of Blue Strong. what have we not mentioned that comes to your mind when you think of the early days when you first got it started, some of the excitement and some of the hurdles and challenges and the results of the early days?
Well, there were not, to my knowledge, of course, I'm looking back on it now, but I don't remember any hurdles really, because everybody that I approached, they were all for it.
All cooperative.
In fact, we were on our way over here today, and this truck in front of us had a faded Blue Strong sticker on it, and so I reached in here and grabbed one of these. I said, at the next red light, I'm going to go put it on the back of his truck. He said, no, you can't do that. But I know this is not very ladylike to say this, but I'm a warrior type person. I'm usually very quiet, but when I see something that is so, it's injustice, it's just so obvious, you have to do something.
Yeah.
You know, you can't ignore something that's just staring you in the face like that. And I feel like our officers were not being treated fairly in a lot of ways.
When you were growing up, was that just instilled in your life to appreciate and respect law enforcement? Is that why it hits you so hard in the heart to do something, the challenge to do something?
My dad was a Marine, and once a Marine, always a Marine. And he taught us to respect authority figures, and but no, I just really don't like to see people misused and see it wrong.
Absolutely. Bill, looking back, anything we left out that we need to preserve?
You were talking about hurdles. Now, my thought was, there's no telling the hurdles that Libby knocked down.
Yeah.
You know, and
Because
that we
of her.
didn't know about, and she, you know, and we want to give honor to her memory.
Right.
Absolutely.
And she was able to get some things done that we didn't know about. You know, I'm sure, and some. There's probably some folks in town had some bruises on their arms, from twisting or whatever. Again, we didn't know about that. So, but we just thank the Lord for the way that the mayor got behind it, the way that Chief Wilder got behind it, Sheriff Mayer got behind it, Lieutenant from the Highway Patrol.
Brad Wilbanks. Brad
But
Wilbanks.
Doug
yeah,
Wilbanks
he was
got behind
very
it,
supportive.
Yes.
and it just made our part of it easier.
Sure.
And then the way the community has responded, you know, 750 or so people at the attendance. The first one over 1,000 people at the second one.
Yeah.
You know, it just. We thank the Lord for the response in the community.
And two, the Jackson Sun supported us. They gave us a lot of coverage. Of course, again, Libby was involved in that.
WBBJ TV, a lot of coverage.
WBBJ,
Radio stations, a lot of
You know,
radio
VIP
stations.
magazine. In fact, I've got magazines here where they got double page
Oh,
spreads
yeah.
on pictures
The
from.
media was really good. to Blue
Everybody
Strong.
just jumped in and really,
And financial support. I know you had a lot of support from the business community locally.
we did.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was really good. Well, it's fun reminiscing and
Yes,
going
it
back
is.
and putting something actually some video work for history,
Mhm.
so the folks will know the real story of Blue Strong. Did we hit the highlights? We got most everything we need to say.
I'm sure I'll think of a million things
Yeah,
when we leave
probably-
here,
probably
but
When the
so.
camera
right
stops
now,
rolling, we'll think of a lot of things.
Probably so.
You know, I wish we'd have said social, and I've got 3 pages of notes here, and that's a lot for, you know, but anyway.
oh,
Well, on behalf of all of us in law enforcement, and speaking on behalf of the community of West Tennessee, thanks to Bill and Ann Luther for what you did. You saw the need, and you did something about it.
well, it was our pleasure. We were blessed. We were blessed by doing it.
We love you both, and wish the best in the coming years for your health and happiness.
Do you know, I have one thing. I wish that I was 21 years old and had good health. I'd like to throw myself into this and just go on and on, but I know that's not possible. But somebody needs to feel that way about it and get in and get behind it and push it and
Yeah,
Keep it
we
going.
appreciate, you know, the committee that was established, and what you said about having to call about it, that this has been a rough year for us both health-wise, and it's sort of limited a lot of our doings. We're glad that it's going on, and we're getting better, and we're going to do what push we can. We'll be like the lady fighting the bear out in the wood. I'm gonna get my broom and let them know whose side we're on anyway.
Isn't it great to know that you've been used by the Lord to bring Him honor and glory and to be supportive of our community? What an asset! What a jewel you two are to our community. We appreciate and love you so much for what you've done.
Thank you, Tom.
Bless you.
We just want to be a blessing.
Thanks. Hope you enjoyed that story of the Blue Strong Story with Bill and Ann Luther. This is Tom Mapes. Thanks again.